Hey guys, welcome back. It's Johnny here from MTB Trail Rider. Today we are about 12 days out from my next spring triathlon, and I want to talk about something a little bit different today. And that is how CrossFit has played a huge role in my training for this triathlon. Now, I know when you think, triathlon training, you think long swims, long rides, long runs. And while, yes, I have been doing those separately and individually, training at Fort Miami CrossFit has been game changer, not just in strength, but endurance and overall fitness. So here's the short version. CrossFit style training pushes your VO2 max, right? Think of VO2 max like the size of storage unit for fitness, right? The bigger it is, the more potential you have. Then there's like zone 2 training, which I do mix in. That is, really the science behind it is what builds your mitochondria in your cells. That's the powerhouse, that's your energy, that's the engine of your cells, right? So that's like filling the storage unit up with fuel. CrossFit's high intensity bursts help raise that ceiling, while the slower endurance stuff kind of helps fill it in. So if I'm not training that high intensity, you hear a lot about triathlon prep doing a lot of interval training because you're trying to build up that VO2 max. If you're not doing that, you're not increasing that storage unit, right? So even if you're doing a lot of zone 2 training, you might have a lot of fuel to power yourself, but you need more storage units. That's where the VO2 max comes in. And that's kind of where a lot of the CrossFit training, CrossFit style training, really excels at. But even kind of more so, like me training at Fort Miami, it's included a lot of running, biking on the Echo bike or the assault bike, rowing, plenty of strength work. And so science shows a huge benefit for running power and efficiency when you're actually doing that strength training with your legs, doing that plyometric work. And it's not just for the gym bros, right? It really makes a difference on the course. When I signed up for my Xterra triathlon back in April of this year, I was sitting between 200 and 205 pounds. Race day in June, I was down to about 195. I didn't really lose a whole lot, but now here in August, I'm about 2 weeks out from my next race, and I'm sitting at about 185 pounds. That's huge, right? So what caused that big change? Cleaning up my diet was number one. You hear that from really anybody who's dropped some weight. Eating as much variety as of whole foods as I could, right? I'm not keto. I'm not doing low fat, not doing any extreme labels, right? I'm eating everything, but avoiding the added sugars and processed junk, right? So we're just trying to eat clean foods and eat a variety of it. I am getting carbs. I am getting your vegetables, your fruits, your meats, your clean meats, right? Some dairy. I am getting those things, and I'm mixing it in. It's not just all of one type of food because I do need that energy to fuel my workouts, to fuel my training. But I'm eating cleaner, so I feel like I've been needing less food. So some of that, what that looks like, that means homemade sourdough for my wife's, own milled flour that she does. We buy peanut butter that's just peanuts. Like if you look on the ingredients, it's just peanuts, right? Eating a lot of veggies that I'm snacking on, just different nuts, whether it's pistachios, walnuts, peanuts, et cetera. It's just nuts. And we're not adding any sugars. We're not adding any other stuff to it. We're not boiling them in vegetable oil, right? I'm eating whole chicken breasts. I'm avoiding the processed deli meats. I'm getting Greek yogurt that's just cultured milk. So look at the ingredients label, right? Because you can get Greek yogurt and the ingredient label looks like something made out of a lab, right? So we're trying to avoid those things. We're trying to avoid fake stuff. And then, crazy part is too, is like my training intensity has gone up. But I feel better now than what I would have before. So I'm training harder, but my body feels better. So check this out. I only do really one longer road bike session a week right now. And that longer road bike session is still maybe an hour to hour and a half at most. I bought a used 2013 Cannondale CAD 10 or something, got it on Facebook, got a great deal on it. I've done 3 to 4 rides. First ride was 10 miles, just figuring out the shifting and the logistics of being on a road bike versus a mountain bike that I've been on for, 10 years. Um, on that ride, I averaged about 17 miles per hour. Then the next session I did was about 23 miles. I had various PRs for the longest ride, right? PRs for 10K, 20K, 30K times. Then I did a 25-mile ride. That was a little bit faster. I was averaging 17.2, right, miles per hour with another 20K PR. Then just this week, a few days ago, actually, I went even further, riding 30 miles, and this time averaging 18.3 miles per hour. Again, breaking PRs on the 10K, 20K, 30K, now 40K distances. But I'm not spending hours and hours a week on a bike. In fact, these are just once a week. I'm doing my zone 2 work a couple times a week on the spin bike. That's usually done late at night after I get the kids to bed. That's typically 45 minutes to an hour session. It's solely based on my heart rate. I'm not pushing high intensity. I'm not doing more than 130 beats per minute. I'm kind of floating around the 120, 125, and I'm just kind of adjusting my pace and adjusting the intensity at that heart rate, right? So I'm watching my heart rate continuously, keeping RPMs kind of in that 80 to 90 range on that bike, and I'm just adjusting accordingly. Again, that zone 2 work, that's the building the engine, right? That's in the previous example, that's filling the storage unit up with fuel. And then my CrossFit training is increasing the storage unit's capacity, and that's where I'm really seeing the tangible results in these bike rides that I'm just doing once a week. I'm pushing myself hard at Fort Miami, consistently pushing my heart rate to 190, 192, 195 beats per minute. It's kind of silly when I look at some of my health fit data that my watch and my heart rate monitor records. It's kind of silly when I think about how high my heart rate gets and then how high I'm able to maintain that throughout workouts. When I did my Xterra triathlon in June, I averaged for the 2.5 hours, my average heart rate was 182 beats per minute. I don't know how I can maintain that for 2.5 hours, but somehow that was my average heart rate, according to my data. I felt like it was off, but the more I'm seeing my training and the more I'm seeing these sessions coming out of the CrossFit gym, the more I'm realizing that's consistent. But what also I'm seeing is in that data is how fast my heart rate's breaking down. My 2 minutes after my workouts, my heart rate's dropping 25, 30 beats per minute, which is excellent. That's great recovery. And that's what I'm looking for. All of this really is to say, like, I'm just a regular guy. I've got a full-time job. I've got a family that I actually want to be present for, right? I can't just log 20 hours, 30 hours plus a week of training. That's not feasible, right? My goal isn't to go to the Olympics. My goal is not to win Ironmans. My goal is not to, that's not my goal, right? But I'm also not trying to sandbag my race either. My personal goal is not to just finish the race, right? I can finish the race. I can go as slow as I want. I can cross the finish line. That's not the goal, right? Um, I'm going to push my body on these races. And I push my body pretty hard in some of these CrossFit workouts too. I'm doing some of these road races, road rides. I'm pushing my body. I am very in tune. I feel like I've been working out long enough. I've been in the fitness industry long enough to kind of understand where my body has different limits. I'll find myself a lot of times just a mental limit rather than my body's personal limit. And that's a whole nother world altogether, is mentally training for these workouts. Regardless of the results, whether I land in the middle of the pack, at the bottom of the pack, whether I finish top 10, top five, podium finish in my age group, it doesn't matter. I'm pushing my body to its limit, and I'm going to see what my body can do while still being just a regular guy who wants to be healthy, wants to be fit, and trying to do it as efficiently as possible, right? That's really kind of what we're looking at, is how do I take my time, my valuable time that I have, how do we train efficiently to get the most benefit with the least amount of training? With this being my only second race ever, it's also very different from that off-road Xterra that I did just back in June. So for me, like, training has to have purpose. I'm pushing my body hard like this because I have races scheduled, right? I do have the new partnership with Fort Miami CrossFit, which is awesome, which is great. I'm glad to work with Gus and the coaches there at Fort Miami. And so my training has a lot more purpose now, which gives me a lot more intentionality behind my workouts. So even when I'm there in the CrossFit gym, it's hard to sandbag the workout, right? It's hard to do this because I'm actually trying to perform for a race I have coming up in 2 weeks. And then after that, I've got another race, season scheduled for next season. and beyond, right? So there's purpose behind the training. It's a lot easier to say no to that ice cream bar when I've got a race in 2 weeks, and when I'm training for that race to be so I can be as efficient and as powerful as possible. A buddy joked the other day. He says, "You just want to be stronger than the runners, but you also want to be faster than the bodybuilders." And honestly, yeah, that's the goal. I don't want to be the lightest, smallest guy out there uh, who's really fast on a bike or can run a 4-minute mile. That's not my personal goal. But I also don't want to add 20 pounds to my frame lifting weights and not be able to run a 7-minute mile, right? I just want to be healthy and fit and just find a training regimen that's capable of balancing all that with a family, with my career, right? So that's where I'm at. That's what's happening. So in 2 weeks, we'll see where this maybe unorthodox approach lands me. As just an amateur racer, only my second race, right? But no matter what, I'm showing up for the race and I'm going to push myself as hard as I can for this sprint. It is a short sprint. It's only a 500-yard swim. It's a 15-mile road bike, and then it's a 3.1-mile run. So each leg does feel relatively short for the race. So I think that's where the intensity is going to be built up, is that I'm going to feel like this is short, where I feel like I need to actually sprint, what's called a sprint triathlon, right? So we're going to see where we land up. If you want to follow along, hit that subscribe button, because after race day, we will kind of break it all down. We can nerd out on the analytics and the health fit data and my chip times and transition times and all of this stuff. We'll go through the results, the mistakes, and if there's anything, I change for next time, especially as we kind of started this kind of the end of this season right here in August. We'll kind of see how we can prep for next season, right? So if that's what you want to do, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you want to be notified for the other videos, if you're already subscribed, click the bell icon. That'll actually notify you there on YouTube when the next video launches. So thanks for following along. I'm excited to share this journey with you guys, and I'll see you next time.